Hi, I'm Ben Shine, and I serve as Chief Analytics Officer and SVP of Product here at Domo. In this month's Domo Drop, I'm excited to talk to you about how our new enhancements to our Magic ETL integrations for Google BigQuery will allow you to transform data without moving it out of your BigQuery ecosystem, but still leveraging one of the most popular Domo features of all time, Magic ETL. We know that customers are challenged and that they want to balance empowering users to enrich the data, which makes it valuable and impactful, but not wanting to create multiple sources of truth or not leverage that foundational data tech stack they've worked so hard to build. Pushdown Magic ETL for Cloud Amplifier solves that. We've already released this tech for both Snowflake and Databricks, but now it's BigQuery's turn. And I know that from my many years of working with Domo customers, that a lot of them leverage BigQuery in their data stack. So let's jump in. To start with, I need to have my BigQuery integration set up to do the transformation. So I can come to Cloud Integrations and either connect a new BigQuery or go to Manage Integrations. And I'll see when I'm editing that integration, there's now a section for transform. I can specify the project and the data set that I should use for native transformation. So now I can go over and use this within Magic ETL. The first thing I'll notice is in the top right, I can select which compute engine I'm using, either the traditional Domo Magic ETL, or you'll see here I have Databricks, Snowflake, and BigQuery options set up in this instance. So to start with, I can use that power of magic on top of data that already exists in BigQuery. So I can see here that I have a data set that has New York taxi trips, and I can start using different Magic ETL drag and drop low to medium code functions. This first one is a new split filter tile. So I'm taking out tolls greater than 0 and making that into the toll rides. Everything else is non-toll rides. I'm also just doing some basic formulas, picking out the hour, late night calculation, pickup date and year. And then I can use those with other functions to make different summaries that then I output. And those are registered in Domo, but don't live BigQuery. This is really important if you think about the efficiency of your data, as well as your ability to control how much processing power and expense is going towards that and control how that operation works. Another big advantage of these native transformations and pushdown is that I can use native syntax from BigQuery. So if there's a function I've used in the past that's not available in Domo, or if I have code from a data engineer who's used it other places, or you wanted to move something out of BigQuery and copy it, I can go ahead and use those. So I have 3 examples here. One is pivot. So I can see here I'm doing a pivot function, and you see the code is pivoting it in this manner. I have here a hashing using farm fingerprint, where it's taking that data and giving it a hash that I can hide that data. And I'm also using the end tile to get percentiles across this order data. And you can think of many different options and SQL options that you use within BigQuery, all at your fingertips within this context of Magic ETL. Now, the last hidden secret about this new integration approach is something I don't think everyone understands, but it's actually super powerful. And that's the ability to query data and tables that aren't directly exposed in Domo, but that the user you use to set up your integration has access to. So let me show you this example. If I go over here into that integration, I can see here, as you saw before, I registered this taxi table, but I don't have this USA names data set in there. But I can come here and use it within a SQL tile that I'm using without having to create an input. Now, why is this important? What that means is I can access foundational data without necessarily having to expose it to users in Domo directly. A lot of times when I'm doing a medallion architecture, I don't want my bronze as exposed. I want the silver I create in Domo and stored in BigQuery, and maybe the gold exposed. And so what you can see here is that I'm doing a native regex contains and extract, and also a cool soundx function, again, using native SQL. And then I'm putting that out and showing it as a table in Domo. So say I have a transaction bronze data set. I don't need to expose that directly to the Domo user in the data center. I could write my different queries, maybe multiple queries, multiple summary levels that I want from people, export those out of Magic ETL, and they're stored in BigQuery, registered in Domo, but I didn't have to go through the process of doing that. I don't think everyone always realizes that this is one of the most powerful things about this new pushdown technology. one of the last things I wanted to show about how these new integrations work for BigQuery as well as Snowflake and Databricks is something that's near and dear to my heart. As someone who I said, I want to be efficient. We don't want to move data unnecessarily. We don't have to replace all the data over and over again. We need to be more precise with a robust and a non-fragile, right? An anti-fragile pipeline, all key components of a good data pipeline. And so I'm going to show you two examples of how we can use both partitioning and Upsert to ensure that we don't need to update all the data all the time. So here's an example using the taxi data set we looked at before. I can see, instead of just replace, which is what the standard has been historically in Domo, and then when we first started with some of these cloud integrations, I can do a basic append, which would just append, but that also gets a little tricky because how do I know exactly which thing I want to update? That's where partition, where I can sort of append chunks of data, which we'll look at, and then we'll look at another example for Upsert, where it's like a merge, right? A key, on a key, it's able to do those things. And so on this partition, I can see I'm taking my taxi data, I'm picking month, I'm creating a partition month year, which combines a month in the year, and then I'm outputting it here. And I actually have a little sheet here that sees, you see we have about, 40 million, 50 million rows of data. I have it for the first 4 months of the year, right? But I don't want to have to constantly retouching the month if the month's already done. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say, I'm going to make that 5, right? So I should add a 5th. And I'm going to let that run. And what we'll see is when it's done running, you can see I've had different versions that I've been creating as I've been testing each one there. We'll let this finish running here. It might take a minute. While we're doing that, I'm going to just talk about the Upsert is the other option, right, that we have. And so if I come over here, I have my Upsert transaction. This is the sort of sample transaction data we had. I'm doing some summary. And then you can see here I'm actually doing an Upsert on the order key. That's part of why I'm making sure I just group by order key here. And so what we can do is I'm filtering for one specific order key, which I can see right there. The top one, 599. 9999943, 9943, and I'm just going to sort of say, this is a fun demo, and I'll let this one run too, right? So I don't want to update everything. I'm just going to update for that one order, and you could see, a lot of times in your source systems you might have, which orders have been updated. So I just want to pass those 20,000 rows and go and do a lookup and Upsert those. So we'll let that run. As well, and we'll come back to it in a minute. So if I come back here, I see that one's run, back to my partition. I come back here, I hit refresh, boom. Now I have added this additional 13 million rows for May. Didn't have to replace the whole thing, I don't have to reprocess everything. Similarly, if I see this ran, I come back here and run, and that top one, instead of look how this updates, it's going to have my new, this is a fun demo. So again, just how do we be efficient, keep the data where it needs to be, understand what's going on, but use more advanced concepts like Upsert and like partitioning to make all this happen. So really, I feel like these features sort of let me have my data cake and eat it too. I love them, I know you will too. Starting today, you can jump on and use these new features for yourself. Try it out and let us know what you think. Thanks for watching. We're excited to see what you'll achieve with this new Pushdown Magic ETL for BigQuery. We'll see you on our next Domo Drop. Bye.